Welcome to Speakeasy Spirits. Today's going to be an informal video. I don't really have any recipes planned out. I just have one idea I want to workshop. I want to try to use blue curacao to make some good upscale speakeasy drinks. Blue curacao gets a pretty bad rap in bartending circles. You're not going to see it used a lot in any upscale bars or speakeasies, but in essence, blue curacao is just another orange liqueur, just like a regular dry curacao or triple sec, with blue food color. So we should be able to use it to make some pretty good drinks, but I don't want to just put this into a recipe that already calls for curacao. I want to come up with some original ideas and see how we can really showcase both the flavor and color of this ingredient. Most of the recipes I see that call for blue curacao are really using it just for its color and not for its flavor. These are typically going to be sugar bombs, overly sweet, unbalanced cocktails, the kind of drinks you're going to see at college bars or on a 4th of July menu at a restaurant. But they're not trying to make a balanced, well-crafted cocktail, which is what we're going to do today. Now you can see the reason it's used like that is this bright blue color, and people are just adding so much to get the shade of blue they want, and they're not thinking about the flavor or the sweetness level of this. It's orangey, it's sweet, not any sweeter than any other liqueur, so we should be able to make a pretty good, well-balanced cocktail with this. We also have to think about the way it's going to look. I'm not too worried about keeping it a bright blue, but I don't want to add a brown liquor and turn it a muddy gray. So we're going to stick with clear liquors, which leaves us with gin, rum, and vodka. We'll also use a few liqueurs, but we'll keep those clear as well, and some fruit juices. So let's start our experiment with gin. I'm going to use the St. Augustine gin. It's a New World gin, so it's going to be comparable to a lot of contemporary gins like Aviation. For inspiration, I'm going to go back to a gin recipe from the late 1800s, the Ramos Gin Fizz. I have done that cocktail on this channel before. I'll have the link up above if you want to check that out. But today we're going to mix it up a bit, change some of the ingredients around, and see what we can do with this blue curacao. If you've watched my channel before, you know I like making egg white cocktails, and I have a special way of doing it. I freeze my egg whites in an ice cube tray. So I've always got them available when I want to use them, and I just quickly give it a muddle. They crush very easily, and that'll completely dissolve when we add the liquor. So let's start with our gin. Now normally a Ramos Gin Fizz would have 2 ounces of gin. We're going to cut that back a little bit to 1 3/4 ounce. Out of that, we're going to add 1/2 ounce of blue curacao. A 1/2 ounce each of lemon and lime juice. Three-quarters of an ounce of heavy cream. You could also use 1/2 and 1/2 here. Let's add a dash of orange bitters to enhance the orange flavor of the curacao. Now I don't think the curacao is going to be quite sweet enough to really make this drink shine, so we're going to add just a touch, maybe another 1/4 ounce of simple. Okay, let's give that a really good shake. The original recipe called for 12 minutes of shaking. A lot of places now have reduced that to about 5 minutes, but really shake it for as long as you can. You'll appreciate the difference. Now the tin is going to get very cold as you shake. You may need to wrap this in a towel if it's getting too cold for you. Make sure your tin is completely dry. If there's any water on the outside, it's going to start to freeze. Because we're dealing with a foam, the foam will start to expand and may push these tins apart. Now I'm doing what's called a reverse dry shake. So now that we've got this ice cold, I'm going to strain this off. Then we're going to dump the ice. Put it all back together and shake it some more. Now the reason we're not shaking it all at once with the ice is the ice would melt and dilute it too much. So we got the proper dilution, now we just need more foam. The reason this is called a reverse dry shake is you can do it in the other order. You could shake it first without any ice, and then add the ice and shake it to chill. All right, I'm going to call that good because I'm exhausted. Now cold really is key to keeping a good head of foam on a drink. So I've got a pre-chilled glass that I've been keeping in the freezer. Now let's strain our drink into that. And at the very end, you'll see a thicker foam come out. Now, in addition to a lot of shaking, there's also a lot of waiting with a drink like this. We're going to let it sit for a minute and let all the bubbles rise up to the top, and that's going to create a good head of foam. Now, the final ingredient is going to be club soda or some seltzer water. I'm just going to make some of my own. And one of the keys, if you're making your own carbonated liquids, is to make sure they are as cold as possible when they go in. A colder liquid is going to hold more carbonation. Now, we didn't get quite the head on this one that I was hoping for, but it stands up to putting a stainless steel straw in there, and it does hold it up. So that is a pretty thick foam, even if it didn't come quite as high as I was hoping. Now, the last step is to take our club soda or seltzer water. We're going to make a little hole here with the straw, and then I'm just going to run this down the side of the straw to top this off. All right, it's not a perfect gin fizz, I'll admit. It does not have quite the head that you'd see on a classic one, but we definitely nailed the blue color. Let's see how it tastes. You can see the straw is still standing up. The foam is rising above the head and still standing straight. On the taste, you could probably use a little more simple syrup. I'd go up to ½ an ounce on this recipe. But it's citrusy, it's light, it's refreshing. It's got a creamy texture to it. It's really close to a traditional Ramos Gin Fizz. The only thing we've really done here is add some orange flavor to the lemon and lime. It's normally a citrus-forward drink, so it really fits in here well. So we know the blue curacao is going to work in a classic cocktail, but this isn't really what I was going for. This is too close to the original. I really wanted something different. So I think what we're going to do now is keep the same formula. We're going to go with a foamy egg white cocktail, but I think we're going to do it in tiki flavors. There's really not a lot of foamy tiki cocktails, so let's see what we can do. We swapped out our gin for some Plantaray 3-star rum. Now this label still says Plantation on it, but the company has changed its name to Plantaray. This just happens to be an older bottle I still had on hand. Now since we want to try some tiki flavors in this, I'm thinking the next ingredient should probably be Velvet Falernum. It's cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon, allspice. A lot of the spices that you find in tiki drinks come from falernum. We're also going to use the tiki staple, Angostura bitters, and we're going to keep the same lemon, lime, cream, and egg white. Once again, we're going to start with our egg white. Since I am using frozen, we're going to muddle that. Now, if you're using fresh egg white or liquid egg whites, you're probably going to want to go with 1 egg white or about 3/4 of an ounce. Now we need 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. And 1/2 ounce of lime juice. Now 1 3/4 ounce of white rum. Half an ounce of our blue curacao. Half an ounce of velvet falernum. This is going to bring in those familiar tiki spices, as well as some additional sweetness. We're going to go with a little simple syrup. I'm thinking maybe a 1/2 ounce here, since the last one was a little tart. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. And last, 3/4 of an ounce of heavy cream. This time let's do a regular dry shake. Let's put these together and shake the hell out of it. All right, I'm going to cheat. This is a milk frother. You normally use these for lattes, but I've heard it can work wonders for a drink like this, so let's give it a try. We just put that on high speed, move it around through the drink until we get a good foam going. This is a lot less effort. We're in the middle of a heat wave. It's 97 degrees and the Speakeasy doesn't have any air conditioning. So the less effort I can put in, the better. We want to whip that up, incorporate as much air as we can in there until it starts to look white and frothy. I can already see that the volume has increased drastically. It started about here, it's now up to about here. So we've almost doubled in volume with air. All right, let's add some ice and give that a shake. And now we just need to shake it until it's cold. All right, another frosted glass, fresh out of the freezer. Let's strain in our drink. Now you can see how much more. This one more than fills the glass. Well, the last one only came up to about here. That's the exact same amount of ingredients, just more air incorporated into it. We got a much better foam with the milk frother. Now, if you want to try a cocktail like this, I'd recommend trying it at home. Do not go into a bar where they do not have this on their menu and ask for one. It's a lot of work, a lot of time. Most bartenders are not going to appreciate that you know what a Ramos Gin Fizz is if they're the ones that have to make it. But if you ever do see it on a bar menu, order one. If they put it on the menu, they're willing to put in the time and the effort. It's something you should experience. Let's try the straw test. Holds up the straw. Let's see if it's firm enough to add our club soda. Now you just want to carefully run that right down the straw. We don't want to pour it over the head and destroy it. And a little more. We're above the edge of the glass now. How high can we go? About that high. Not the firmest foam head that I've seen. We have changed the recipe up a little bit with some more liqueurs, using both the falernum and the blue curacao, so it might end up a little thinner, but the big question is, how does it taste? Oh, that's really good. It's well balanced. It's citrusy, it's sweet, it's got some spices in the background. It's a really well balanced cocktail. I think we succeeded here. The only thing I might do is take down the simple syrup just a little bit. It's a slight bit on the sweet side with both liqueurs in there. Maybe somewhere just under half an ounce, but more than a quarter ounce, and I think you'd nail it. It's still not as sweet as most of the drinks I've seen using blue curacao. Like a lot of restaurants, it'll have a blue Hawaiian on their menu or some specially themed 4th of July drink. This isn't a sugar bomb. It is a good craft cocktail. As you can see, I'm dressed a little differently. That's because I'm shooting this a few days after the last part of the video. It hit 100 degrees here, and it was just way too hot to be trying out egg white and cream cocktails. Now that the temperature's cooled down, let's pick up where we left off. I really like the direction we're going with these fizzy egg white cocktails and the Kuiper blue curacao. I want to try one more variation, but this time we're really going to kick it up a notch. So now instead of gin or white rum, I want to try something with a lot more complex flavor. We're going to swap out the base spirit for yellow chartreuse. A lot of people treat this like a liqueur. It is sweet, but it's 55% alcohol. It's stronger than either gin or rum that we used so far. So this really can be treated as a base spirit, as long as you balance all the other ingredients correctly. Then to build on the honey notes of this yellow chartreuse, we're going to use some honey syrup as our sweetener. We're going to keep the blue curacao, and we're going to use lime juice. Once again, let's start with our egg white. We're going to do 1 frozen egg white. You can use fresh here. If you're using fresh, it would be about 3/4 of an ounce. That muddles up nice and easy. Now to our egg white, we're going to add 1 full ounce of lemon juice using our Difford's Guide jigger. Then 1.5 ounces of yellow chartreuse. Now the yellow chartreuse is already sweet, so we're going to take it easy on the honey syrup. I'm thinking we'll start with 1/4 ounce, and we can always add a little bit more later. Same with the blue curacao. We're going to start with 1/2 ounce, but we may take that up to 3/4 of an ounce, depending on how this comes out. Now last we're going to add our 3/4 ounce of heavy cream. We'd want to give this a dry shake for at least a couple of minutes, or we can be lazy and cheat and use our milk frother again. So I'm just going to turn this on and let it blend. Now we want to keep going until this increases in volume. The goal here is to add as much air as possible. So I think that's probably good. Now that we've whipped it up, we're going to add some ice and shake. Now we're going to use a slightly bigger glass this time. I want this to have more fizz to it. And let's start off by adding 1 ounce or 2 of our club soda or seltzer water, just to get us started. Then we're going to strain in our cocktail. Now we're going to let that sit for a minute and allow some of those bubbles to rise to the top and create that head that we're looking for. What we're going to do is take some more of our club soda and we're going to add it back to the tin. There's still some foam stuck to the sides here. And we're going to just slosh around our soda water. And we don't want to shake this and foam up the club soda. We just want to give it a swirl and get some of that foam off the sides. Then we're going to strain our remaining foam and club soda down the side of the straw to top off the glass. And we're not going to stop at the top. Let's see if we can get this head to foam Let's see if we can get this head to form above the rim of the glass. All right, we got a little height out of it. It's above the rim. It's thick enough to hold up the straw. Let's see how it tastes. That's really good. I think we got the proportions just right. It's got just the right level of sweetness. We don't need to add any more honey syrup. You can definitely taste the orange flavor coming from the De Kuyper Blue Curacao. But all of that blends so well with the yellow chartreuse, which is bringing in the herbal notes and a little honey sweetness. This has got 130 different herbs, and it really adds a lot of complexity to this drink. Now, if you're not able to find yellow chartreuse in your local liquor store, something like Strega is another honey-flavored herbal liqueur that I think is going to work really well in this drink. Sometimes when I'm making a new recipe, it takes me 3 or 4 tries adjusting things, but I really think we nailed this one on the first try. I would be perfectly happy putting this on a cocktail menu at any high-end craft cocktail lounge. Now, just based on the color of this and the fact that the blue and the yellow are turning a light green, I think we'll call this a Seafoam Fizz. Now that I think we've nailed the De Kuyper Blue Curacao and egg white cocktail, I want to try something a little simpler without the egg white and cream. It's still kind of warm down here, so maybe something that's a little more refreshing. To explain a little bit about my thought process when I'm trying to come up with a new recipe, I like to take inspiration from a cocktail and then start swapping out ingredients until it's something completely different. So for this one, I'm taking inspiration from the Velvet Fog. Now that's a vodka cocktail sweetened with orgeat. It also uses orange and lime juice. Now here, we're going to use a citron vodka, the blue curacao, a demerara orgeat, orange bitters, orange juice, and lime juice. The other thing I like to do when I'm starting a recipe is try and use easily repeatable measurements. So for this, we're going to go with 2 ounces of vodka and ½ an ounce of each of our other ingredients. From there, we can adjust up or down as needed. So let's start with the orange. We're going to go with ½ an ounce. We're going to use some fresh orange juice here. Make a bit of a mess as we do it. Let's go with ½ an ounce in our Difford's Guide jigger. Now, one thing I'm not really sure about is how that orange juice is going to affect the color of the blue curacao, but we'll give it a shot and see if it works. And we also need ½ an ounce of lime juice. Two ounces of our citron vodka. This is a lemon vodka. So now we have orange, lemon, and lime in here. We're going to get all of the citrus notes. ½ an ounce of our De Kuyper Blue Curacao. ½ an ounce of our orgeat. Now this being brown may also affect the color. Normally my orgeat would be white from just using white sugar and almonds, but here I was using a demerara sugar. So we'll see how that works in the cocktail. The traditional Velvet Fog recipe calls for simple syrup, but with fog in the name, I like to use an orgeat to give it a cloudy appearance. Now we'll do 2 dashes of orange bitters to continue building on those citrus flavors. Now we're going to shake this over ice. We're going to use a coupe glass, and we will strain this in. So it doesn't look like the orange juice or orgeat really negatively affected the colors. We're getting a nice blue-green here. And let's garnish that with a wheel of blood orange. It looks good. Not sure what its name is yet. Maybe based on its color, we'll call it a ocean fog. It's a little on the sweet side. So like I said, starting from here, we'd make adjustments. I think if we cut back on the orgeat by about half and use just a 1/4 ounce of orgeat, this would be just right. Orange is the dominant flavor here, but that's rounded out with the lemon and the lime. The blue curacao and the orgeat add some sweetness. The orgeat is bringing a little bit of almond to it. Now here we're using a citron vodka, which brings some lemon flavors in, but you could easily make this with just a plain vodka. I think it would still be a really good drink. Using something like a gin with strong citrus flavors, maybe like Waterford's 4-Peel gin, would work really well in this, but I'm pretty happy with this for a vodka cocktail. I really liked where we went with the yellow chartreuse, honey syrup, and blue curacao in the fizz, so I want to try that again using the Velvet Fog as an inspiration. Now because honey and lemon is a classic combination, let's start with 1/2 ounce of lemon juice, 1/2 ounce of fresh squeezed orange juice. I'll try not to make such a mess this time. We'll do 1/2 ounce of our De Kuyper blue curacao. We're going to go with 1.5 ounces of the yellow chartreuse. And that's only because it is sweetened, so I don't want to go to the full 2 ounces with it. Now, instead of building more on the orange notes of this with an orange bitters, I am going to use lavender bitters and try to play more on the herbal notes of the yellow chartreuse. We'll just do 2 quick dashes. And last, this probably needs a little extra sweetness, so we're going to go with 1/4 ounce of honey syrup. Now we'll shake this over ice. Now we will strain into a coupe. The chartreuse is making this a little lighter, brighter green color. And for a garnish, let's use a candied orange peel. Just make a little slice in it here and put it right on the rim of the glass. And there you have what I think we'll call the Seafoam Fog. Never made this before, never tried anything quite like it. Let's see how it tastes. It's still pretty well balanced, a little on the sweet side. If you like a drier cocktail, you could probably exclude the honey syrup entirely. You're going to get enough sweetness and honey flavor from the chartreuse, and the blue curacao is bringing some sweetness as well. We've also got the orange juice in there, which adds a ton of sweetness. I really think the lavender bitters are doing something great here. They're really enhancing some of those herbal flavors of the chartreuse, making it more floral, more complex, a lot more well-rounded. If you like your cocktails a little on the sweeter side, then you can try this recipe exactly as I made it. If you like it a little drier, then leave out the 1/4 ounce of honey syrup. I think you'd really appreciate the complexity of this cocktail. So I really didn't have a plan when I started this video, other than I wanted to use some blue curacao in some upscale craft cocktail drinks, and I think we were really successful at it. I'd say both of these are great drinks. I'd have no problem paying $12, $14, $16 for these. Also, the fizzes we made were really good, especially that last one using the yellow chartreuse. If you like an egg white cocktail, something foamy, a little different, maybe give that one a try at home. If you're looking for something a little simpler and more refreshing, then these two are also great cocktails. I hope you liked the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.